I met my girlfriend at a party. A mutual friend was throwing a Halloween party 6 years ago. She went and dressed up as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I thought it was a brilliant costume, so we started talking about it. The two of us connected right away, and we ended up leaving the party together. We had an amazing night together, and from there, I asked her out again. I thought we were perfect for each other. She was everything I wanted in a partner and more. We had been dating for about 2 years when I asked her to move in with me. Ever since then, things have been better than ever. She was very career-focused, but unfortunately she was laid off from her job at the beginning of the pandemic. Her company had to make a lot of cutbacks, and her department was eliminated entirely. She took it very hard, but I was there for her the entire time. I had a good job, so it wasn't impossible for me to take care of us both. Of course, there were some adjustments to be made, but we managed to get through them. We had several friends in common, though we both had our own friends outside of those. Neither of us really felt like we needed to be best friends with each other's friends, because we had our own lives outside of each other. With that being said, most of her friends did like me, and I got along well with them in return. However, there was one friend, let's call her Claire, who I couldn't shake the feeling didn't care for me. I had never done anything to Claire to make her dislike me. But there was just something off between us. My girlfriend would often go out with her friends, and whenever I heard that Claire was going along, I got a little nervous. I was faithful and honest with my girlfriend, but part of me worried that Claire might be saying something to affect our relationship. Maybe that was just my anxiety, though. When I asked my girlfriend about her, she told me that Claire didn't dislike me, but she thought I was different from the type of guys she usually went after. Before my girlfriend was with me, she had dated a lot of very athletic and dominant men. I wasn't really like that. I preferred to stay home with her and watch movies or television shows, and most of my time spent with friends was through gaming. I didn't think that would be a reason for Claire to dislike me, though. I let it roll off my shoulders, and I didn't worry about it. I was confident that my girlfriend loved me, so it didn't matter to me what one of her friends thought, especially considering that all of her other friends really liked me. Some time passed, and I hadn't even thought about it. However, my girlfriend started acting differently. She had always been very into fitness, so her spending a lot of time at the gym wasn't unusual. But I started to notice that she was spending even more time there than usual. She was going to the gym twice a day and closely monitoring her caloric intake. She was perfect in my eyes, and she was definitely not overweight in any way. Honestly, I was somewhat worried about it because it could be a sign of something else going on. It seemed almost obsessive. She talked to me about the diet she was on and how she wanted to transition to a raw vegan lifestyle, which I wasn't too happy about. Going vegan required a lot of changes in research that I couldn't commit to. It seems like all of these changes came out of nowhere, and I didn't understand why she was so adamant about them all of a sudden. I didn't think that these changes were because she was cheating on me. I thought that maybe, if anything, she might have seen a documentary that spoke to her or something. A few months after she told me she was making that change, I saw her at the cafe around the corner from my job during my lunch hour. She was there with another man. I knew all of her friends, and I didn't recognize him. He was tall and extremely muscular, and he was clearly interested in her. She was facing away from me, so I couldn't tell if she was reciprocating that, though I was nervous about why she was at the cafe with this man to begin with. When I left in the morning, she had just told me that she would be going to the gym and spending time at home. I walked over to them and said hello, waiting for my girlfriend to introduce us. I think she instantly recognized my suspicion, and she quickly told me that he was one of the trainers from the gym. She said that he was vegan, and they were talking about some recipes and changes that she planned to implement in the coming weeks. They asked me to join them, and I did. After sitting with them while they talked about nutrition for a while, I felt like my suspicions were eased. I mean, why would my girlfriend invite me to sit down with her and the man she was cheating on me with? When I got home later that night, she explained what happened in more detail before I even asked. She said that they were just talking at the gym and decided to grab lunch to chat more and that it was nothing at all. Honestly, I was kind of torn about that reaction. Was she telling me that because she wanted to assure me that nothing was really happening? Or did she tell me that because there was something going on and she needed to get ahead of it? I decided it would be best to trust her, so I just told her it was okay, but to let me know before she has lunch with some random man again. We laughed it off, and she assured me that it wouldn't happen again. The weeks went by and she started to withdraw from me. We still spent time together, though it was nothing like it was before. I only saw her for a couple of hours in the morning and later in the evening after she got back from the gym. At that point, both of us were too tired to talk, much less do anything else. We practically stopped having sex after a while. Anytime I would try to initiate anything, she would tell me that she was really sore from the gym, or she was tired and wanted to get up early. I felt like I was just being dismissed by her, and I didn't like it. She actually came home one night before I got back from work, and we had dinner together. It was the first night in a while that we ate together, and I was happy about it. At least I was happy until she got a call halfway through dinner and left to answer it outside. I answered the phone outside. At that point, I would have been foolish not to wonder if something was going on. I immediately thought about the man from the cafe and felt like an idiot for brushing it off so easily. I couldn't help but think that I had walked in on a date without even realizing it. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I took the opportunity to look for evidence on her phone. The first thing I did was call the recent number that had shown up during dinner. After a couple of rings, a man answered the phone. He said, "Couldn't wait any longer, huh?" and laughed. I didn't say anything in response, which prompted him to say my girlfriend's name, as if he was waiting for her to reply. I had been hoping it was just a wrong number or a scam call, so I didn't know what to say. I stayed quiet, hoping he would hang up after a minute, thinking it was just a butt dial. Thankfully, that's what happened. I looked through their messages and found a lot of evidence that they had been sleeping together almost every night for the past several weeks. It was the man from the cafe, and they had been staying late at the gym to sleep with each other after it closed. One thing that caught my eye was how the man said he was glad Claire introduced them. My blood was boiling when I read that. I always knew that Claire didn't like me, but I never thought she would actively encourage my girlfriend to have an affair. I opened their text messages and searched for the man's name. I saw the conversation with my own eyes. Claire had texted my girlfriend about a cute guy who worked at the gym she went to. She told her that he was just my girlfriend's type. At first, my girlfriend told her that she was happy in our relationship. A couple of days later, Claire sent my girlfriend a picture of herself in the gym mirror with a man standing behind her, circled in red. She told her that was the guy she'd been talking about, and that she showed him a picture of herself and he was interested in going out. My girlfriend initially said she didn't want to, but the following day, she asked Claire if she had a guest pass for the gym. They started talking about how cute the guy was, and Claire actively encouraged my girlfriend to cheat on me with him. I put the phone away and pretended like I didn't know anything about it for the next couple of days. I needed to find a way to get back at my girlfriend for humiliating me. Not only did she cheat on me, but I also had to sit at the table with her and the man she was sleeping with. The only thing I could think to do was to get the man fired from the gym. From there, I could break up with my girlfriend and kick her out of my apartment. She didn't have a job and had been relying on me for support, so I was going to take that away from her. The first time after I found out about the affair, and my girlfriend texted me saying she was going to stay at the gym later, I took that opportunity to make sure they got caught. From the research I did, I found out that they had been sleeping together almost every night for the past several weeks. After researching the gym, I discovered that it was a small family-owned business. The owner's information was on their website, so after they closed, I realized my girlfriend was still inside having sex with the guy. I called him and explained that I had left my house keys inside the gym and desperately needed them. He was very helpful and came back to let me in. As he opened the door, he noticed that many lights were on when they shouldn't have been. He muttered curses under his breath as he walked through the gym to properly close it down. I heard yelling coming from the back, where I can only assume he walked in on his employee having sex with my girlfriend. A few moments later, my girlfriend ran out of the back room with her shirt on backward and saw me. Shortly after, the man came out carrying a camera and a tripod. It turns out they had been filming all of their encounters. I left, and my girlfriend chased after me, trying to explain what happened. I let her speak, because I wanted to hear how ridiculous it sounded. She tried to make it seem like I was the problem, but everything she said were things that Claire had put in her head. She claimed I wasn't exciting and didn't know how to please her, but she never talked to me about any of that. I kicked her out of my apartment, and she went to stay with Claire. Later on, I found out through mutual friends that she tried dating the guy from the gym for a while, but it didn't work out. After that, neither of them had jobs, which put a lot of stress on their relationship. On top of that, they had been filming their time together and posting the videos online. Their faces were blurred out, but she had definitely posted them on the internet. OP, I am so sorry you had to go through something like this. It seems like you were putting an effort into your relationship while your girlfriend wasn't interested in doing the same. Claire seems like a terrible person who had no business getting involved in your relationship. It's a shame that your girlfriend let her get in her head. The fact that she was willing to film herself having sex with a virtual stranger and post it online without telling you says a lot about her character. She seems very selfish, and anyone in a relationship should discuss things like that with their partner first. Blaming you for her affair is a classic cheater move, but I assure you that none of this was your fault. If she was truly unhappy, she could have come to you and discussed your sex life, and you could have worked on it together. I hope you are able to move on from this. It sounds like your girlfriend wasn't a good match for you, and I wish you the best in moving forward. I hope you find someone who will respect you. Now, let's move on to our next story. My wife and I recently celebrated our 5-year wedding anniversary. We have been together since our senior year of college. Interestingly, I had never met her until we were in the same thesis class. We sat near each other, and I thought she was cute, so one day I struck up a conversation and asked her out. Our relationship quickly evolved, and we both knew that we had something that not a lot of people found. We ended up graduating and moving in together within a year. One thing that both of us really wanted out of life was a big family. We had talked a lot about wanting to have at least 3 children, probably more. The first step for us to get started with that was to get ahead financially so we could provide for them. We got married and worked our butts off to be able to put a significant amount of money into savings to start a family. We put a down payment on a house, bought the furniture that we needed, and started trying for a family. Everything in our life was going exactly how we wanted it to. We were thrilled to be happily starting such an incredible journey together. We had been trying for a baby for about 6 months and had no luck. At the time, we weren't in a huge rush for it, so we were trying not to stress out and just enjoy the time we spent trying. After a year of trying with no success, we decided that we needed to see a fertility specialist to figure out what the issue was and how to move on from it. When I went in for my physical, the doctor quickly told me that it was likely my fault that we couldn't get pregnant. When I was a teenager, I had a brain tumor. My family did everything in their power to help me, and part of that included radiation therapy. At the time, I don't think my parents I were very concerned with my reproductive health. We were focused on making sure the tumor was gone, so we did what we had to. Now, as an adult, I'm learning that I will never be able to father my children because of it. When I left my physical, I had to break that news to my wife, and she took it very hard. We both wanted a family more than anything, and I wasn't going to be able to give that to her. However, we still had options, and I was trying to excite her about those. After I told her, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was mad at me. I didn't want to believe that was the case because it was just as heartbreaking for me as it was for her to find out. I could tell that she viewed me differently than she did before. I did everything in my power to try and bring things back to normal between us. I loved her more than anything in the world, and I didn't want to lose her over this. We had options, and we could work through them to still be happy. Not long before we started trying for a baby, we bought our own house. It was a bit of a fixer-upper, so we were working on it while living in it. There were only a few things that really needed to be taken care of. One of the biggest issues with the house was the plumbing, which was very iffy. I could do some things like repair drywall and install cabinets, but we needed to hire a certified plumber to look at the house. My wife took care of that while I focused on other aspects of renovating the house. She hired the plumber and dealt with him most of the time. She told me one evening that the plumber was going to be coming over the next day. She had already met with him several times before, but I hadn't met him yet. I had already planned to take the day off work because I was expecting a large delivery that I needed to bring in. When I met him, it was difficult not to feel a little jealous. He was a good-looking guy. On top of that, he seemed to be a little chummy with my wife. I started talking to him about the work he had been doing, and I quickly brushed off my insecurities and told myself that it was just a professional relationship between them. Things started to get back to normal between my wife and me. We were spending more time together, and we had even started having sex again. It was much less frequent than when we were actively trying to have a child, but I was still happy to be happy in general. One night, she and I were just sitting on the couch and watching a couple of movies when she suddenly ran to the bathroom and threw up. Neither of us thought it was possible for her to be pregnant, so we assumed she had food poisoning. But it kept happening. She went to the doctor, and they were able to confirm that she was pregnant. I couldn't understand how it happened. I had been told that I wasn't able to have children, yet my wife was pregnant. It was hard for me to believe, but I thought it was a miracle. However, my wife didn't seem as happy as I thought she would be. I assumed she would be over the moon when she got the news, but she seemed almost distressed by it. She started to withdraw from me again, and I could tell that there was something seriously wrong with her. I was worried that she wasn't feeling well because of the pregnancy, and I kept asking her if there was anything I could do to help. She started to make secretive phone calls and hide her phone from me when she wasn't using it. I began to suspect that something serious was going on. I didn't want to investigate because I was afraid of getting hurt, but I knew I had to. One afternoon while she was napping, I managed to take a quick look at her phone and found information that completely shattered my heart. It was the plumber. He had been sleeping with her while I was at work. This had been happening since my wife found out that I couldn't father a child. In one of the messages, just hours after we found out she was pregnant, she messaged him and told him that she was pretty sure it was his. I felt like my world had completely fallen apart. I had thought having a child was impossible for me, and I was so happy when I thought it was finally happening. I was just a fool to believe that it was mine. The worst part was that the plumber didn't want to be involved. He suggested that we just pretend the baby was mine. My wife agreed that it would be the best option. I couldn't handle being with my wife after learning about this. She wasn't the woman I thought she was. I wanted to divorce her, but I didn't know what to do because she was pregnant. It felt wrong to leave her while she was carrying a child, and I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to leave her as a single mother. My wife caught me while I was looking through her phone. She bolted up and grabbed it from my hands, and I just stared at her. She knew right away by the look in my eyes what I had found. She tried to explain herself by saying that she was in a very vulnerable state and he was there. She thought less of me for a while because I couldn't give her a child. I told her that no matter what, we were over. There was still a very slim chance the child was mine, so I wanted to have a DNA test done. If it was mine, we would deal with joint custody and figure that out. If it wasn't mine, I was out of her life completely. She reached out to the plumber and told him about it, and he agreed to give us the mouth swab that we needed to perform the test. When my wife was 8 weeks pregnant, we went in to have it done officially. the results came back that the plumber was the father, she told him and he was less than ecstatic. It felt truly awful to leave her, but I didn't really have a choice. It wasn't my child and I couldn't stand being around my wife after she said what she did. So I divorced her. And because of her affair, I didn't have to give her anything. After the baby was born, I tried to stay out of my wife's life. She had moved back in with her parents so they could help her with childcare while she worked. Apparently, the plumber had decided he didn't want anything to do with either of them and chose not to pay child support like he was supposed to. I didn't want anything to do with my wife when I heard about that. I was frustrated and reported him to the authorities for failure to pay child support. He was forced to pay with back pay or face jail time. I have a lot of things to deal with personally now. It's hard for me to trust people enough to want to get involved with another woman. On top of that, I have to worry about never being able to start my own family. I think the best thing for me at the moment is to take some time to be single and figure out what I want out of life. OP, I'm so sorry you had to go through all of this. It's really sad how she turned her back on you after you were both given bad news about your chances to conceive. There are plenty of options for couples who can't have children of their own, and it seemed like your ex-wife didn't really want to pursue any of those. It isn't fair for her to blame you for what happened. When you were younger and had to go through radiation therapy for your own health, this was a side effect of that. If you hadn't done that, you might not even be here today. It was the right thing, and it's no one's fault that you can't have children. She was very quick to cheat on you with the plumber after finding out the news. It was very selfish of her to use the pain you both felt as a catalyst to betray your marriage. I know it's hard to realize when you love someone, but you're better off without a person like that in your life. It's a good thing that you're thinking about taking time to be single, because that might be the best thing for you to heal from this. I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Best of luck moving forward, and I hope you're able to open your heart up again to try and trust people. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care.